Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I want to welcome you and just ask you to tune in with me for a minute and let's talk about on this day of reflection. It's a Good Friday and let's reflect a few moments on Mark chapter 2. And in verse 23 of Mark chapter 2, it says, One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields and his disciples walked along. They began to pick some heads of grain. And the Pharisees said to him, Look, why are they doing this? What is unlawful on the Sabbath? And he answered, Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the days of Abiathar, the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for the priest to eat. And he also gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, Jesus said to these religious leaders, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Okay, so what we got going on here is that the religious leaders and teachers, they continue their agenda by questioning Jesus's every move. Jesus poses a question to them, though, when they question him, why are you doing what's unlawful? Why is your disciples doing what's unlawful? And he asks them, haven't you ever read? Haven't you ever read about David and what he did by eating the bread that was brought into the house of God? And he doesn't ask them this for them to reply to him with an answer. He asked them this. They had obviously, these people that would have been trained to be the teachers of the law, the Pharisees, would have well known the scriptures. So he's asking them not for them to tell him, but for him to have an opportunity to open up the heart of God to them, because they were very, very close to that. So he doesn't need this answer, any answer. They've just missed the meaning of what the Sabbath is. So their attack was just wrong in what they did. But Jesus is trying to show them that the bread of God is meant to be a blessing to people and a blessing on God's creation. Sabbath isn't about meeting its demands. No, that's not what the Sabbath is for. The Sabbath is a gift. The Sabbath was made for humanity, for creation even. The Sabbath is a gift. It's a time of rest for your soul, for your mind, for your body, and it's a time for reflection for God's people, for all that has been given to us by God. And so Jesus, besides letting them know this, he is letting them know that he has authority. He is the Son of God who has authority, okay? And these leaders need to know this, and they need to align with God, because at this point they're opposing God. And so when we think about this and what this could mean for us, we should ask, well, how do we handle the Sabbath? I think in large part, we handle the Sabbath by thinking of just an old rule that we no longer keep. And that's not what God created the Sabbath for. He didn't do away with the Sabbath with Jesus. Jesus is saying it's made as a gift. It's made for reflection. It's made for rest. So maybe God would just ask us to consider this. Can we reclaim the gift of the Sabbath as a blessing given by God to us. Because you get worn and weary. I get worn and weary. And God has given us opportunity to sit in his presence and to read his word each day. That's a mini Sabbath. To take a day of rest. That's a day of Sabbath, to time for you, your body, to recharge and refresh, your mind and your soul, to reflect on the good gifts of God. Maybe that's how we should view this interchange here, where Jesus says, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. So let's call back and fall back to the old way of keeping the Sabbath that God would have for us. And we'll be blessed. That's something to consider. That's something that I have to do a better job, a time to reflect on that and to submit to that as well. So God bless you all. We'll talk again soon. Thanks for joining with me in God's Word.